must have found from a hiring point of view? Did the labour pool kind of dry up a wee bit?
Yeah, it definitely did. I think the industrial rope access industry does rely, or has previously relied on, international staff, which obviously stopped. I think we were really lucky where we were just hitting like a maturity in our business where we did attract some really good staff. So we've definitely got the best team we've ever had. That gives us confidence to go out there and sell ourselves and, follow through and do the job. So we haven't been too badly hit by the staffing shortages.
That's a cool thing, eh? Like, and I say that all the time as well. Whenever we have, because we've just had like quite a big turn in staff, like we were saying before, and I've found that every time we've had that throughout our history, like 16 odd years, our team's always gotten better. And so it'd be one thing to get down on it, and you do have some sort of sleepless nights where you go, holy shit, how are we going to solve this problem? But yeah, every time, like the team just gets stronger and stronger. We get better and better people. And do you find that as well?
Yeah, and I think good staff attract other good staff as well, especially in an industry where a lot of people know each other. I think we were really lucky there as well. We managed to get a couple of good staff, and then they really enjoyed working in our environment. And so when people in their circles were talking about finding a different work, they were confident enough to say, hey, come work with me at height.
Mate, that's
really
awesome.
Enjoying it. Yeah,
that's all about company culture. Eh? What do you guys base your company culture on? You got like values and mission and all that sort of thing?
Look, we've never really kind of sat down and kind of written those out. I think they've changed as we've changed,
and they should.
Yeah. The size of our company's growing, so it wasn't that long ago that me and my business partner were the two team leaders, and we were on site getting the job done. So I guess our kind of thoughts would have been different there. I think one of the things that the people that work for us enjoy is the fact that it wasn't that long ago that we were kind of on the ropes or on the tools.
Yep.
So we're not asking anyone to do anything that we wouldn't have done ourselves.
Absolutely. You're not too far removed from the coalface
Yeah,
sort of thing. Eh?
yeah, and look, that's that'll change for everyone. Anyone that was on the tools and stops and goes and works, on their business instead of in it is going to slowly move further and further away from those days they were there.
Yeah.
But I think we're lucky to be in that place now, and we have a real culture where we're happy for people to speak up. We're happy for new ideas. And
mate, I was seeing one of those not a meme, but one of those posts on LinkedIn yesterday where they were talking about if you have an environment or a culture where people can put their hands up to either say I've made a cock up or I've got a question, then that's perfect. People are comfortable enough to admit to a mistake or to ask for help.
Yeah, like no idea is a stupid idea in the beginning.
Yeah, that's right.
It's worth giving it a go.
Unless there are ideas as company directors.
yeah. I think some of them do end up being that in retrospect. But from the get go, you don't know until you try.
That's right. Yeah, for sure. You were saying before that you guys have doubled the size of your business in the COVID era. That's impressive, man. Like, how do you think? Like, what caused that?
Yeah, so I think we were speaking about it before. Having those lockdowns created a bit of compression in our workload. Definitely felt just kind of overall, people had that attitude of, hey, we're allowed to go and do things now. Let's go get all those things done. So there was just kind of an uptick in the industry. I think we went into the pandemic already growing, so we probably just kind of continued that as well. So there's definitely just some natural growth. I think our clients have grown as well. So we've been really fortunate to have a good group of clients. We do a lot in the retirement village industry,
like Ryman and stuff like that, or
not Ryman themselves, but the MetLife Cares, Arenas, and many others. So as they grow, there's small like privately owned groups. They start off, they own one retirement village, and then a few years later they bought another one, and then another one.
It's a growth industry that's getting older.
Yeah, it really is, and I think there's another kind of 15 years of continued growth if you look at our demographics. So it's a great industry to be a part of. I think that's a big part of kind of why and how we've grown. Is we've managed to understand that industry, understand what they want. They're very unique. Those people are in those apartments or villas kind of more often than an apartment building. You know, they take bigger pride in the appearance of their property, and so part of what we do is, you know, an exterior cleaning is making sure their buildings are looking good and their windows are clean, and that's a big deal to them. And
Yeah.
if we can keep them happy, then we're doing well, and we seem to do that, and that industry is growing, and we're managing to grow with them. Yeah.
Yeah, good on you. That's an interesting demographic, the older folk. Like we see it in apartment buildings where you do get the older folk, say they've just retired. So unless they're going to go off travelling or they've got some other hobbies and stuff, they tend to sit around and, you know, give you a lot of advice about how you should do your job and stuff, and you know, with things that are potentially going wrong with the building. And it's thanks. We'll keep that in mind. And quite often they're actually really good eyes and ears around the building. And then I'd imagine in a retirement village, it's pretty much all like that. You know, you've got thousands of eyes and ears like helping you out.
Yeah, pretty much. And you know, a lot of them are you know, very, 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 very friendly, and they've all got bits of advice. And once again, our guys are used to it. So you know, we always say that, you know, if someone wants to have a 5-minute chat with you, that's part of your job. You know,
it's PR.
Yeah.
You know, you're engaging with them, you're promoting what you do, listening to them and some of their concerns potentially.
Yeah.
So with your business, so you've got At Height.
Yep.
And then you've got the other aspect, which is Washco.
Yeah, correct.
Talk us through the two different things, and why have you got two like that?
Yeah, sure. So At Height Limited is an industrial abseiling company, and that's been in business for almost 20 years now. So we got into that through the kind of construction industry, through a commercial waterproofing background with my father, and then, you know, the real bread and butter of any rope access company in a city is cleaning, you know, window cleaning, building cleaning. So over the years we got into that, started to build up a good client base, you know, with the retirement villages, body corporates, building management companies like yourself.
Yep.
And we started to get quite a bit of demand for our services in the exterior cleaning that weren't height related anymore, particularly once again in the retirement villages. Most of those villages in and around Auckland are just large scale villas. You know, you've got 80, 180, 280 houses on one piece of land. We got to a point where it actually started to become quite a big part of our business, and we were actually employing people that didn't have any intention of abseiling or being a part of industrial rope access. So we decided to set up a new company called Washco Limited, and that's an exterior cleaning company. We call it a general exterior cleaning company without the rope access. So we'll do work with telescopic poles, so we can clean a 4-story building from the ground using telescopic poles.
Is it still called a tucker brush?
Yeah, tucker pole. Yep.
Yep.
So now they're the best out of the states. Yeah. Unbelievably expensive, but you know, you can get a whole lot of work done with them. You know, Washco will use EWPs, so boom lifts, scissor lifts, that type of stuff. So it enabled us to not turn away work to start off with, and it enabled us to have just some options, and being able to employ different type of people. A lot of rope access technicians are very passionate about what they do.
Rope access technician.
So the industrial abseilers.
It's an acronym for that though. There's 3 letters. You don't call them rats, do you?
I don't know. No, you see it written down. It doesn't sound as nice when it's said. You know, so a lot of these guys, they want to be abseiling. That's why they got into the industry. So if we're doing a job where there's a large component of exterior cleaning work on the ground, that's not necessarily what they want to do. So having the two companies enables us to have guys specialise. You know, like we were talking about before with your 13-year-old son editing the videos. You know, let the experts do what they want to do. So we're the same. If we've got staff that want to be abseiling and working on ropes, let them do that. And we've got another group of guys that are passionate about exterior cleaning, and so they're able to do what they do.
Yeah, and so I guess then the guys wouldn't really chop and change much, would they? Because they'd be focusing on either the washing side or the maintenance side, specialising. Yeah,
so Washco, just being a general exterior cleaning company, doesn't really do any building maintenance. That's definitely a part of the rope access industry. So At Height, these guys are firstly specialising in being rope access technicians, and then they're the guys that do end up doing a lot of cleaning, window cleaning, but also, you know, looking for leaks, fixing loose flashings, painting,
Yep.
all sorts of things. So we're the guys that can get to the places that other people can't. And yeah, so
Yeah, and I mean that's why you guys are so prevalent around the city and that, because all the high-rise buildings and things. I guess it doesn't even have to be a high-rise, does it? Like I think anything over like 1 or 2 stories, you'd have to get involved, wouldn't you?
yeah, all depends on what the task is. If you're cleaning the building, like we're saying, there's telescopic poles and access machines. If you're doing general maintenance, you can scaffold a building like that quite affordably. But yeah, absolutely, there will be some very just tricky access areas. If you've got a 2-story building on the side of a steep cliff face, you can't get a truck around there, you can't get a boom lift, you can't get scaffold, then yeah, you might find some rope access technicians abseiling a 2-story building.
Speaking of finding rope access technicians, where do you guys actually find your staff from? I mean, there's probably a bit of it's a very specialised industry, so you probably do get staff that move around the various companies and that. But where does, say, someone brand new, say someone out of high school, goes, I want to be an abseiler, how do they get into that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I've met a lot of abseilers, but I can't say I've ever met someone that actually left college with the dream of being an abseiler. I mean, I definitely didn't. It was an opportunity that my father was starting a company, and God, I'd never thought about it before. I mean, I remember it was my intermediate school camp, and we had to do an abseil down an abseiling wall, and I was terrified. And I think I was the only one in my class that didn't do it. So the last thing I was thinking was, I want to be an industrial abseiler. So I
it's
think
kind of ironic now, given that you own an
I
abseiling
think it is. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, you just know someone that does it, or you've seen people that do it, and it looks interesting from the outside. It looks like fun, and it is. It's still a job at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think the fun factor can wear off eventually for some people, but there's definitely adrenaline involved, probably most days. You get a few people coming from the recreational industry, so people that have been recreational rock climbers, but it's less than you probably think. You get some people just come from the trades, so they might have been a glazer, they might have been doing aluminium joinery, they might have been a painter, and they've seen rope access technicians do their line of work on buildings, and then realise that they've got a transferable skill set. So I think there's a bit of that.
You just got to add a rope and a harness, and
Yeah. I mean,
And
at the end of the
offside.
day, the abseiling is just the means of getting to the place that
Access,
you're going to do the job.
Yep.
The industry is much larger. I think the rope access industry in a city like Auckland is probably the smaller part of the industry. There's a lot of people working offshore on oil rigs. There's a lot of people doing cliff stabilisation. So the work done down at Kaikoura after those earthquakes was probably one of the biggest rope access jobs in the world at the time. I'm sure. So there's a whole lot going on in the industry that's kind of outside of my warehouse. So you get a few people coming and going.
Yeah. And so to work at height, someone's got to be trained.
Yep.
So they must have to go to some form of training institution, go through a whole lot of tests and competency tests and that sort of thing. Do you know much about that side of things?
Yeah, of course. So it's you say a whole lot of tests. There's probably a lot less tests than there should be, or there could be. So basically, to be wearing a harness and to be working on a roof where there's a risk of a fall, you must have your fall arrest training, which is pretty basic training. So that goes outside of our industry. You'll have roofers with that, glazers, scaffolders, painters. That's a pretty common qualification. It's the kind of qualification you should have if you're working in a cherry picker or on a roof. As far as industrial rope access, there's an international organisation called IRATA, and they're probably in most countries around the world. They're not aligned with any specific company or any kind of educational facility. We have NZQA in New Zealand. They're completely separate from that. So there's that one channel, and they have a level 1, 2, and 3, and they've been in place for many decades. In New Zealand, we use the NZQA right from kind of college through to our universities, so we have those same qualifications. And so the same thing, you can go and do your fall arrest training, and then go and do they call it a level 3, because that's the NZQA level. It's the equivalent of last year at school, or a kind of national certificate level. So there's the national certificate in industrial rope access,
Oh, yeah, okay.
and then there's a level 4, which is the kind of the equivalent of first year university. So there's a level 4 national certificate in industrial rope access.
There's a lot to it, eh? Like that's kind of more than I thought. Like to have the various levels of level 4. That's quite a lot of study.
It's really one of those industries where you can only learn so much in a classroom, and so both those courses are only a matter of like a week or 2 weeks each, and in both the New Zealand system and the IRATA, the international system, there's a heavy reliance on just workplace experience. You need to log your hours if you're wanting to progress from one level to the next level. You're having to log hours, with a professional company, and have someone with a high qualification kind of sign off saying, yep,
It's kind of like a trade like a Sparky, where you've got to have 8,000 hours or whatever have you on the end of a rope.
Yeah, it's similar, just a whole lot less hours.
All right.
Yeah, and so I was, I knew you were going to ask that question, and I've kind of wondering that myself, and I've always kind of wondered why it's so easy to get the qualification, and I think it's because there's so many aspects to our industry. Like I was saying, some people will learn rope access because they're on an oil rig. Some people will learn it because they're doing geotechnical work. Some people will learn it because they're needing to be a better painter or glazer. So it's kind of like it's not a whole trade on its own. It's like a skill set that enables you to do something else. So you might have a extremely highly qualified welder that needs to be doing some very high-end tasks out on an oil rig, and they need to be able to abseil. You don't want them to be hamstrung and have to go do 2-3 years worth of training for them to be able to go to do the job. You want them to be able to go and get the education they need and be able to use it sooner. So I think that's why it's the way it is.
And so like I keep banging on about the qualification and training and stuff, but it's interesting to me, and it's good to know that these guys are trained and qualified. It's not a case, or is it a case of the higher you go, the more qualified you need to be, or once you've trained at a certain level, as in qualification, you can abseil off anything? Because I'm thinking, you got, say, the Sky Tower, or you've got like Pacifica or Metropolis. Is it like diving, where you got to get different tickets to go different depths and stuff like that?
No, so not at all. So the risk of falling from 2 stories to the risk of falling from 20 stories is the same risk.
Right.
So I think ACC statistics say that the most falls and the most dangerous falls are at 1.5 meters. So really, kind of once you're up on the roof of a building, doesn't matter how high you are, you have to treat it all the same. Obviously, with diving, you've got the pressure of the water, which makes a big difference. I think the taller the buildings, probably the safer they are.
Wow.
If you're up on the roof of a 2-story building, I think complacency is going to kind of sneak in a lot sooner. If you're up on the roof of a 20, 30, 40-story building and you can see the edge and you can see how tall you are, that is front of mind, and you are taking a lot more care. Also, the buildings are designed differently. So Pacifica example, and there's been a lot of the architects, the engineers, there's been a lot of thought, planning and preparation, and they've followed up with the install of great access systems up there. So these things are thought about. Whereas we're seeing a lot of 3, 4, 5-story apartment buildings popping up, and there have been for decades. You get up on the roof of some of those and there's nothing, absolutely nothing.
Do you guys ever get involved with the design of those safety systems, or you ever ask for feedback on them? Because you're the one using them at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, and only just recently, which has been really enjoyable process. So we've got a few staff down in Dunedin, and we do a lot of work for the University of Otago down there. Extremely large organisation. They have to take health and safety seriously, as everyone does. And we've kind of been working with them long enough that I'll get a call from an architect. They'll be designing a building that's 2-3 years away, and they're showing me the CAD drawings, going, how will you reach these windows? Can you clean them from the ground? Can you use an EWP? What do you think of our roof access? Have we allowed you enough room? Is there enough space to walk around without having going to the edge? If you are having to go to the edge, what do you need from us? And it's amazing. I think that's few and far between. I think a lot of buildings are built without consideration of the people that will be working on the roof in the future, and also, you know, kind of cleaning the outside of it.
Oh mate, we see that from, say, like an architectural point of view, where the building is intended to look beautiful. It's bloody hard to wash.
Yep.
You know, and you guys must see that all the time with, you know, things that are intended for one thing, but then are difficult to maintain over the life of the building, or even to actually get access to wash. You know, certain like decorative like flashings or the edges of roofs that we can't have a rope going over because it might crush the bloody thing, and you know, you've got to have needles going out and all sorts of stuff. You must see that sort of stuff all the time.
Yeah, I actually asked my business partner before I came here today. You know, I asked him what do you think were some of the, you know, challenges we face with the buildings in respect to how they're designed, and you know, the architects. And I was more thinking of your louvers and, you know, steel mesh covering windows, so the light's blocked, you can't even clean it. But yeah, I mean, he raised the point of, you know, hollow parapets. Often it's just an aluminium capping. Yeah, it looks nice, it's really cheap, but there's nothing underneath it. You put a rope over it and you're just going to crush it. Yeah, it drives us nuts, because the amount of extra effort you have to go to abseil a building like that without damaging it is quite considerable.
Yeah.
And you're just adding other moving parts to a system where they don't need to be there. So it really wouldn't take much, or, you know, an hour sit down with an experienced, you know, industrial abseiler, just asked a few questions, and yeah, buildings could be designed a bit differently, but I get it. They're trying to build beautiful buildings.
That's right.
And we want those too. I mean, there's a lot of not very good looking buildings in Auckland, unfortunately. You know, in the early 2000s, and they just kind of were banging them up everywhere.
I know some of the ones you're talking about.
Yeah, so, you know, it is nice to see buildings looking different, and, you know, architects going out of their way. But sometimes it does make it very difficult for us to do our job. And us doing our job's not just about having a clean window so that you can see out of it. It's about maintaining these claddings and materials that are used. I mean, we're a coastal city. It doesn't matter where you are in Auckland, you're only going to be a few kilometres away from the ocean, and, you know, these building surfaces need to be cleaned. And
well, especially like new builds that have got warranty obligations and all that sort of thing. You know, it's hugely important. You're going back, you mentioned a few things before about EWPs and all that sort of thing. Let's talk a bit about a few of the different aspects of, you know, the acronyms of EWP. We know what that means, but what's like the difference between, say, an anchor point and a fall arrest system?
Yeah, sure. So there are a couple types of anchor points to start off with. There are anchor points that are designed solely for fall arrest, and so that means you can hook onto them, you can walk around the roof, and if you were to fall, they're going to arrest your fall. And these quite often have a lot of shock absorption built into them. The shock absorption might be built into the anchor itself, it might be built into how it's fastened to the roof. Then you've got an industrial abseiling point, and so that's designed for people like us to tie our ropes onto and to abseil the building. So there is always a load on that rope, so they are designed to be kind of pulled on constantly. So you have kind of different levels of shock absorption built into those, because they're going to have a load. And so normally the shock absorption is then built into the abseiler's kind of harness and the devices they're using. So those are the two kind of main anchor points. When you say system, to me that's like a horizontal safety line. So normally that's like a stainless steel wire rope. There's what's called a shuttle that connects onto that. You get up onto a roof. Ideally that system starts at the roof access point. You've got a harness lanyard, and you can hook onto a stainless steel wire that runs around the perimeter of the roof, or is running to key points on the roof, the air conditioning systems or systems that need to be maintained. Normally those systems are not also designed for abseil, so it's quite a few different things you can find on a roof.
Oh man, for sure. And they've also got to be certified every year.
Yep, so they need to be inspected by a qualified person every year. There's many different types of...
Do you guys do that?
Yep, we do that. And there's many different types of systems. There's many different ways of testing. Some of these things need to have a proof load pulled on them. So there's devices where you can attach a device and actually tension that anchor point or that bolt to a proof load, so like a half load. So industrial abseiling anchor point must be rated to 12 kilonewtons, which is 1.2 tonne. So we've got a device that can hook onto that and pull that at, say, half of that 600 kilos, and you want to be holding that for a set period of time. That might vary between.
Have you ever tested something and it's bloody pulled out because it's been either degraded or hasn't been installed properly?
No.
Yeah.
And I'm quite happy about that.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
You get the odd purlin anchor that's a bit loose. You've got a steel roof with timber underneath it. There's expansion and contraction with building materials, so you might get a system that's just a nut and bolt anchor that's loosened off. As long as those can be tightened up, then they're okay. But no, I've never had an anchor point that's drilled into concrete, chem set or anything like that fail under a test, and that would be quite unnerving, because you use a lot of those.
Well, freaks me out just thinking
I mean,
about
these things are all so over-engineered. It's the same with anything. Same with the crane industry when they're using their slings and their shackles. We're using the same stuff. Our ropes are designed to hold like 3.5 ton, and that's just there. There's so much safety factor. When a manufacturer's producing a fall arrest system or a rope access anchor bolt, and they're telling you it can hold this much, really it can hold so much more. So.
Yeah, because I guess there's a tendency to think, oh, this rope, shit, I'm 100 and something kgs. Like, is it going to hold me? And it's like, it could probably hold about 1,000 of you, man. It's like, it's well over-engineered, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it has to be. You got to kind of build those safety factors, build those, bit of idiot-proofingness into these things.
So, what's your as a company? Do you guys sort of have a point of difference or points of difference that you promote, or or over other companies that do similar work to yourselves?
Yeah, so you get asked this question a bit, and there are a lot of really good companies in Auckland, and I don't think I can sit here and say that we're better than any of them, or particularly that different from any of them. I think what probably does make us different is that we're not different. I think there's a lot of companies that have kind of picked a specific lane and got really good at that. So there's companies that are really good at abseiling and doing billboards. There are companies that are really good at abseiling and doing like neon signs. There are other companies that are really good at window cleaning. We've kind of come into the industry and had a more kind of broad approach. So we try and provide a good service across everything. So we can access your building safely. We can clean building to a high standard. We can do painting, waterproofing, glazing, joinery, signage, all of that to a high standard. But we're not specifically experts in any of it.
Okay. Yeah, it's good to know, actually. So you got quite a wide. You can do a bit of everything, really.
Yeah. So I probably haven't answered that question, to be honest. But it's a difficult question to answer, because
no, it's fine. I mean, your explanation was actually just as good, because you guys, I guess the work that's done is like, you go up on a building and you hang off the side. Like, that's the same. Most companies could hang off the side of a building and fix something. So you're not trying to do it in any different way. You're trying to do it in the most safest and economical way that you can, and there's probably limited chance to alter that formula.
Yeah, we're just trying to do everything safely to start off with, and then to a high standard. And we're an industrial rope access company. Exterior cleaning's the bulk of our work, but you do have to be kind of a jack of all trades up there, because you're going to get asked to help out with a lot of things. We can't do electrical work or stuff like that. Sometimes you need those industry experts, like a company that just does waterproofing to set the standard and kind of sign off the work. But we're able to give everything a go.
Nice. Going back to that the equipment thing, I realised that we didn't explain EWP.
Elevated work platform.
Yep.
And then sometimes you chuck an M on the beginning of it, MEWP, and you get a mobile elevated work platform.
MEWP. Right. And do you guys own any of that gear yourselves, or do you just rent it, or when you
so we don't own any of that. So it's something that's been on the radar. Very expensive pieces of kit, and we've already got lots of equipment that spends a lot of time sitting in our yard, not not doing much. You end up, buying a new shiny piece of equipment for a job, and you're like, well, we'll buy that. We're going to use that heaps, and you use it a couple of times a year. I think the elevated work platforms would be like that for us.
Yeah.
We're really fortunate to have a couple of really good companies in Auckland. Nothing wrong with naming names, is
Yeah,
there?
for sure.
So companies like Access Man, I think, have really stepped up that game in that space. And
Oh, now that bloody song's playing in my head. That Access Man song on the radio.
yeah. So and they've got branches everywhere, and it's a lot easier just to kind of call them and let the experts be the experts, and
Yeah.
they
And they
just
can-
drop it off, and it's all nice and clean and full of gas, and you get the job done. You call them, they come and pick it up.
Yeah.
I think if we got to the point where we were using them regularly, having the opportunity to have them branded with your company logo and stuff is definitely worth thinking about. But
It's nice, though. But,
Yeah, not at
it's
this
like
point.
you say, it's one of those things where it's easier to give it back at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
they certify it, they maintain it. It's on them if something goes wrong on it. So
yeah,
no, that's all good. We were talking before about the safety aspect of what you do. It must be massive. It must be like that front of mind thing whenever someone's doing a job. It's safety first.
Yep.
So if you just walk us through like some of your safety, health and safety procedures and stuff, but then also like what are the main dangers that you guys face when they're I guess it starts from even setting up to do a job. That can be that there's danger in even setting up and all that sort of thing. So what are your safety protocols like?
Yeah, you're right. There is, abseiling, there's been a lot of steps prior to that. So I think the very first thing, where possible, is that prior preparation and planning. It's kind of knowing what your environment's going to be, making sure you've got the right kind of plan and equipment. I think it'd be very easy, with incorrect planning to turn up to a site and not having that right bit of equipment, and then someone wanting to take a shortcut or using something incorrect. So it really does start there. So as with any trade, we're all doing our task analysis at the beginning of any job. There's a huge amount of paperwork that happens before anyone gets to site, and I think that's just a lot of, there's a lot of kind of just dotting the I's and crossing the T's there, when really the real health and safety starts on site. You can have a 50-page book on how to be safe and have that written before you get to the job, but it's no good, because you get to the site, you need to assess the site, assess the environment,
Conditions.
what are the hazards, what's the weather, who else is there. So yeah, that space has changed considerably. So we use an app called Site App Pro. It's been out for a few years now. It's a New Zealand based app, so they're just based over on the North Shore, so it kind of fits our industry, fits our culture. So the guys start off with identifying what they're doing for the day, what the tasks are, what the hazards are, and rolling through that, and just putting those controls in place. Obviously, falling from height is a major hazard. But there's also other things. You don't just walk up to the edge and keep on walking. Something's happened, and so often, those things will be little things. It's like a slip or a trip. So it really starts with the fundamentals. Health and safety for us is also, we have to make sure that we're safe, but we also introduce hazards to other people's environments. So if we're working on an apartment building, just doing a window clean, generally people underneath us, whether that's a footpath or outdoor dining area or an entranceway to an underground car park, we're introducing a hazard into that environment. So setting up cones and poles and exclusion zone, letting people know where we are, what we're doing is really important.
And so when the guys are doing all that stuff, like they learn that in their training, right? Like that all that stuff is part of the qualifications that they do, or do they learn that more with yourselves?
Yeah, I think most of all learning is kind of in the field, but as part of the National Certificate in Industrial Rope Access, we're learning the basics. You're learning about the Health and Safety Act. I think when I did my course, it was the Health and Safety Act of '93. I think it's been updated since then.
2015, I think it is.
Yeah. So no, you are learning about those fundamentals. You're learning who's responsible. That's always been the same, but the interpretation's changed. So yeah, there is some real basic health and safety, first aid, selection of correct equipment and stuff like that. But I think so much of it's just practical. Every environment's different. Our guys are going on to different buildings every day or different buildings every week. There's just a whole lot of new hazards, and you're having to plan and prepare and control those hazards differently all the time. So I think a lot of that comes with experience. I think that's why it's really important that we have our buddy system structure and rope access. You should never see a guy abseiling a building by himself. And you might have 10, 15 years ago, but it doesn't really happen anymore. There's always the team leader, there's always the experienced guy with the less experienced guy, for many reasons. So I think for the first years of, same with any kind of trade apprenticeship, you're learning off someone with more experience than you the whole time.
And so the health and safety side of things is all about keeping people safe, and so that they go home at the end of the day and stuff. But what are the actual sort of dangers for your team while they're on the job?
Yeah, okay. So there's the obvious falls from height. The other real danger that most people won't know about is something called suspension trauma. And so basically what that is, have you ever had pins and needles in your leg? That's you've had your blood circulation blocked off for a period of time, and then it's come back, and I don't know the full kind of medical explanation of what pins and needles are, but basically our guys are hanging in a harness, and the worst thing that can happen once you're over the side in that position is you become unconscious and you stop moving. So if you stop moving in a harness, you've got these straps around your legs, most importantly your legs, and your body's going to go limp, and there's going to be some restriction of blood flow. And the way we're taught is if you're in that position for more than 10 minutes, so if you're in an unconscious position hanging in a harness for more than 10 minutes, you're in real danger of cardiac arrest once that blood is released back into the system. And so that's a big reason why we have our buddy system. It's a big reason why we wear helmets too. You don't want to be knocking your head and falling unconscious. So with any industrial rope access, there's a rescue plan. So you've always got a plan to get your buddy down. So today it's an absolutely miserable day outside in Auckland. So our guys are in the warehouse practicing their rescues. And so, you've got two guys that are each set up with their own set of ropes, in their own harness. If your buddy becomes unconscious through whatever any means, other than being electrocuted, you need to go over there and get him off his rope and get him down to the ground within that 10 minute.
That's bloody interesting. Like that, I want to dig into that a bit, because that's kind of, that's freaky. I'd never even heard of that, never even realised that. I kind of thought, gee, those harnesses must get uncomfortable after a while. But
they do.
Yeah, I'd imagine. But then, so you're saying that someone becomes unconscious. So could that be if they with a gust of wind and they swung and smacked their head, or again they got a helmet on? But what else how would they become unconscious?
Yeah, look, I would think knocking your head would be the most common way. Abseiling, you put yourself into some pretty precarious situations at the best of times. There's also, we spoke about it before, the difference between kind of an abseiling anchor and a fall arrest anchor. There's lots of positions where us as rope access technicians and many other people working in harnesses, where they put themselves in a position where there's a chance of a fall, and they've got a system in place that'll stop them once they've fallen, but they're still going to fall somewhere, and there's a good chance you're going to knock your body against the building or knock your head against the wall. So I think the head knock's the most highly likely reason that you can become unconscious.
So then when you're unconscious, you're talking about so your body's gone limp and stuff, and then it's then when the pins and needles thing would start, because you're in a position where you're not strong, or you're not sort of bracing yourself, so you kind of limp, and then the pins, is it the harness that causes the constriction? Yeah,
and I think harness technology is probably a lot better now. The harnesses our guys are wearing are just full of padding, and they got seats built into them. They look way more comfortable than the stuff I was wearing. But if you can imagine like a fall arrest harness, something that you might see someone hopping into a scissor lift or EWP wearing, and it's basically just seatbelt webbing, right? And if that's cutting across your thigh, there's obviously some big veins going on in there, and it's just going to restrict that blood flow. So if you're sitting in a harness, you're hanging in a harness, it's not the most comfortable place or position to be. You're going to be moving around. Your leg's going to be uncomfortable, and you're going to stretch it out. You're going to adjust the strap and move it around, so you're constantly kind of freeing up that blood flow to stop the pins and needles. But if you come unconscious, you are just limp in that harness, and there's a high potential for restriction of blood flow, and that's one of the most dangerous things about abseiling or being in a harness at all.
So it's not the restriction, but it's when you loosen off the restriction and then the blood rushes back to the heart or whatever.
Yep, absolutely. So I don't have any kind of medical training or experience, but my limited understanding of it, is that the blood's being pumped around your body constantly, and it's constantly being cleaned. And if you've got a whole lot of blood that's been sitting down your leg for 15-20 minutes, it's kind of going bad.
Yep.
And when that gets all released all in one big go straight back to the heart, that can cause big damage. So we're all taught that in our courses, and there's different things to do. If you've had to do a rescue and you've picked someone off their ropes and taken them to the ground, sometimes you're just going to leave them hanging and wait for an expert to turn up, ambulance offer or something like that, and let them know that I've been in this position for a while.
Yeah. The other aspect too that I'm sort of always curious about, and it's something that I guess because we facilitate the work that you guys do at times, organising and communicating and coordinating and that sort of thing, we get some owners that say, oh, weather's fine today. I want to talk about the weather with what you guys do. Oh, that's bloody fine out there. And it's like, yeah, but it's blowing a gale. Like these guys can't be hanging off the side of a building if it's windy as buggery. What's the weather impact on what you guys do?
You're absolutely right. There's a huge difference between wind and rain. Rain's only going to affect our work if it actually affects our ability to kind of maintain our workmanship. So there's certain window cleaning techniques that or there's certain kind of joinery systems where you need a dry window to be able to clean it properly. You might be doing waterproofing or painting. You can't do that in the rain. But really it's the wind that's you just can't control. Doesn't matter what you're doing. And so there's a few things that's going to cause issues with. First, the higher you are. You mentioned Pacifica earlier. It's an extremely tall building. It's about 150 plus meters. That's a long bit of rope. If that just starts blowing around the bottom, next thing you know, it's wrapped halfway around the building, or it's crossed over the road, and it can just be absolute chaos just even trying to set up ropes. And then once again, it's introducing a hazard that could increase the chance of someone banging their head. And so it really does kind of come down to that, where the wind can make it difficult to control your environment.
So the weather-wise, wind is worse for you guys?
Yeah, it'll depend. Yeah, wind's unnegotiable. Yep. Put it that way. Well, if we're water blasting the outside of a building to give it a clean, and it's just steady rain all day, you're going to get wet anyway.
True.
You're already putting your wet weathers on because you're water blasting, so it's not going to cause any issues. But if it's windy, doesn't matter what you're doing, and if you're in that, on a tall enough building, and it is, the taller the building, the more it affects you. And the other interesting thing is you might be standing on the ground, kind of looking up at a 40-story building, and you're like, it's not that windy. I guarantee you, it's a lot more windy up on the roof.
Yeah, absolutely,
considerably.
The other thing too about a lot of these glass curtain buildings these days, and I've seen this on a couple of buildings where there's like a radiant or a reflectant heat at certain times of the day. Say if it's at like midday and the sun's sort of beaming in from the north there, it looks like it sort of hits the curtain wall of the building and then like reflects out, and you can see that that shimmering like of the heat on the building. Is that ever a concern for you guys? Because if you're hanging off the side of the building and you got this heat sort of beating you in the back of the head, but then also from the front, like, is that ever a concern?
Not so much from a health and safety point of view, especially in Auckland. I don't think we're ever that hot. I've got some friends that have done some time in the Gold Coast, and some days it gets too hot where you wouldn't be able to touch the outside of the building, so that really does become an issue. From like a trying to clean that bit of glass. And if you've got your traditional woolly mop,
Yeah.
and you're mop cleaning that window, and then you've got to quickly flip that over and get the blade, and you go back, and it's
already dry.
It's dry,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
just
Yeah.
soap suds baked onto the window.
Oh, it's even worse, right?
Yeah, that's an issue. So you got to work around it. There'll be certain buildings where you look at it and go, right, we're gonna do a drop, and by a drop I mean you start at the top, finish at the bottom. We're gonna do one on the side of the building early in the morning before the sun hits it, and then after smoke or after lunch we're gonna go around and do a drop on the shady side of the building.
So that's how detailed your planning gets. Like, you guys actually plan to do certain aspects of the building at certain times of the day.
Yeah, and especially on the larger jobs, and same with the wind. Wind can kind of channel between the buildings, especially in the city. And sometimes you have a windy day, but there might be two sides of the building where it's not affected. So where possible, and when you can kind of foresee those weather events. I mean, the sun's easy, but you can't always predict the wind. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Man, yeah, there's a lot to think about, eh?
yeah, there really is, and I think that's why people enjoy the industry. You are always challenged. There's
Always
no
solving problems.
no 2 days are the same. Very rarely are you going to get a boring day. There's always going to be something different, some challenge,
And I guess
some new view.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you can always look over the back of your shoulder and check out the view behind you. There's some pretty stunning views around the city. Isn't there?
Absolutely, and I've been doing this for 18 years, and I still get to some roofs in Auckland where I'm like taking photos of the roof access system. I might be with the building manager, I'm taking photos for work, but then half my photos I'm just sneaking a few in because it's just so beautiful up there. And I've got to show my wife this view later.
Yeah. Going back to weather, can you guys actually, and because there's a few days like this a couple of weeks back, can you guys actually abseil in the fog?
Yeah, so the fog. Short answer, yes.
Yeah.
I've had a few days, very, very limited, where you might be working on a roof that's large enough where there's areas of the roof that you cannot see. That does create some hazards, but normally you're always able to view the kind of the 5-10 meters in front of yourself. So no, that's normally not a major issue for us.
No, that's good. Yeah, just sort of looking at the city last week and a couple of weeks ago, and you can just see, you can see the top of all the buildings, and you think, gee, that cloud is really low, and you think, shit, I wonder if they can actually still do their work in the fog.
Yeah, it definitely makes for some beautiful views when you're above it, though.
Yeah, man, that'd be exciting. What's the tech like in your guys' industry? I mean, you've got ropes and harnesses, and you kind of talked before about the harnesses have come a long way. What other sort of tech is there in your guys' industry to either help make your job safer or more efficient, or do we ever see, are people ever going to be replaced on the end of a rope?
Yeah, it's a good question because it's getting talked about now, especially in that exterior cleaning, or washing the outside of large buildings. To answer your first question, the tech we use is probably been pretty similar for 50, 60, 70, 80 years now, and from my point of view, it's really just the comfort factor that gets better. These things are just adding more padding, and the handles are more ergonomically designed, but the idea of what a harness is kind of goes right back to probably the parachutes and kind of World War II, I guess it is.
Yeah.
I think a lot of our harness technologies come from the parachuting industry, and then the steel devices that we use have been pretty much the same for a long time, and they'll just be making kind of finer tweaks on those just to make them more user friendly,
like carabiners and stuff.
Yeah, because steel carabiners has been the same for 100 years, and there's nothing wrong with it. I don't see how you can make it any better. It's just the user friendliness, how it how easy it is to open and close, and how well it closes is a really, really important part, and how long they last as well, I think, is another thing. So some minor improvements there.
Are there any materials that you see that you think, no, not that you see, because if that was the case it'd already be a problem, but say carabiners have got to be made out of a certain type of steel, like you wouldn't get one that's made out of bloody plastic or aluminium, would you? Or what are they generally?
Aluminium, yeah.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, so definitely not plastic though. Yeah, there are still components on a harness that are made out of plastic, but they won't be integral parts of the structure.
Any carbon fibre?
Not that I can think of. There's definitely, we talked about the telescopic cleaning poles we used before. They're carbon fibre.
Yep.
There's some, pretty cool tech in that. They're getting better. The old ones are all brass and very heavy, so they're getting lighter. Carabiners and the hardware we use, software being ropes, slings, harnesses. The hardware we use is mostly steel and aluminium. It's about making sure you're using the right equipment with the right equipment. So if you're using steel, you want steel on steel, or aluminium on aluminium. There's the other industry, the recreational industry that's right next to us, being rock climbing. They're all about having things as small and as light as possible.
Yep.
And there is some practical applications for that as well. You do want stuff to be user friendly. But as far as the tech, like you start seeing some news pieces on like robots cleaning buildings, and I get people kind of ask me, what do you think about that? Are you going to be out of a job? I'm like, not in my lifetime.
No, absolutely.
I would say not a single building in this country has been designed for a robot to clean it.
Good point.
So they might start building buildings that can be cleaned by robots, but all the ones that are already built are going to need people like us to upsell them and maintain them for a very long time. So
with brains that can solve problems on the spot, not have to stop and get reset and get jammed and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just it's that design and having to get into places. And the other big part of what we do is we're a set of eyes for people like you. So you're managing a building and you want to know that everything's lasting and doing its job. And if there's something wrong, how are you guys going to know? So if you've got window cleaners coming through every 6 months, every 12 months, you've got a set of eyes kind of running over the entire outside of your building. There's some buildings that we literally scrub with a brush, so we're running a brush over every inch of a 20-story building. Guys are kind of seeing all those things, and I don't think we're going to be
fine-tooth comb.
we're not going to be replaced by technology, but I don't think there's any kind of great leaps that are kind of over the horizon.
You mentioned before that you bought a drone.
Yeah.
Then you're starting to do some videoing and stuff like that.
Yep.
See some of the stuff on LinkedIn is really cool. Keep that up because that's interesting,
thanks.
man. But is that part of your arsenal as an at height thing? Can you guys send a drone up to check something out before you send a person up?
Yeah, we can. And I mean, we haven't done too much of it. But health and safety is all about eliminate, isolate, minimise. So if you can eliminate someone going on a roof by putting a drone up, then that's great. And that's what we got it for. So it was mainly looking at roofs that you can't access from within the building. So you'll be familiar with a lot of the apartment buildings you manage. You go to the top of the fire exit, the stairs carry on for another floor, or there's a hatch, there's a door, you walk out on the roof, you can kind of have a quick look and assess that, and that kind of goes back to what I was talking about before with health and safety. Is you want to have that information. You just want to send a crew of guys to a building that you've never looked at or been up on the roof and go figure it out. Someone like me or one of the more experienced guys needs to go and have a look, so you've kind of identified some of those hazards. So what we use the drone for is going and popping up and having a fly over the roof for quoting purposes. If we're washing the roof on a large warehouse, the difference between washing a roof that was washed 2 years ago and washing a roof that hasn't been cleaned for 20 years is the labour component of that can be quite different. So we want to know what we're up against when we're quoting it. And a lot of those roofs don't have roof access, so those kind of 2-3 story commercial buildings or even residential buildings where there is no roof access, I don't want to have to go up a 8-metre ladder if I don't have to, or spend $1,000 on a machine to get me up there if I don't have to. So no, the drone's been a great bit of kit just to be able to go and have a look and assess it.
Yeah, no, it's sweet. I like stuff like that. They kind of can solve problems, or it can it just means that you don't have to put anyone at risk for. You might just be doing a quote or whatever. You can pop the drone up there. You don't have to put a person up there, and it just saves time.
Yeah, I mean the technology in drones is so good. I mean, I've been asked to, by clients going, "Hey, do it, in a commercial building, how do the gutters look?" And I'm like, I'll pop out there and have a look for you. Just fly down the line of the gutter and
that's cool.
And inspect the whole thing. Go, hey, they're fine. You don't, you don't need to pass to go out there and do anything. I've had a look for you. So yeah, I think you're probably right. There probably is a bit of kit that might change a few things. Sometimes we are going to and do an inspection, there might be a leak on the side of a building that you just want to go and have a look at. I still think you really want to get in there and be poking and prodding at something, but you can go and have an initial look with a drone for sure.
Yeah, it's the initial look, eh? Yeah, you can identify it without sort of having to put yourself at risk in that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's the risk. You know, if you can minimise or eliminate someone having to do anything, then you should be looking into it.
You got anything else you want to talk about? Anything we've missed? We'll cut this part out, obviously, and we can just restart on anything else you want to have a chat about.
Yeah, I thought we could just touch on the COVID thing. I just wanted to give a rap to our industry, especially the construction industry.
Cool. Okay, I'll tee that up.
Yeah, cool.
So we've all, the last few years have been difficult for everybody. Some more than others. You guys sound like you did pretty well out of COVID with the growth and stuff, which is fantastic.
Yep.
But there's still work that had to be done at that time. We all had to make sure our staff were safe. PPE and all that sort of thing. How did you guys find the actual COVID time? So from, was it March 2020 through to the end of last year or even early this year? How was that for you as a business?
Yeah, so I think that first time we were kind of let out of lockdown, which would have been April 2020. There's so many unknowns. We knew we were going to be stepping into a whole new world. There was a whole new hazard and, kind of danger, or, with however you kind of took it at the time, that we had to assess. We had to make sure our staff were safe. There was going to be a whole lot of new rules that we had to follow. No one really knew what those were at the time. We were really lucky to be a part of the construction industry. And At-Height does a lot of work for construction companies during the finishing phases of their projects, helping putting the final touches on once the scaffold's gone and the crane's gone. And there's an organisation called SiteSafe. I'm sure you've come across them.
Yep.
We just thought they were absolutely brilliant. So kind of the whole time I'd been sitting at home and enjoying the time with my wife and kids, and wondering if it was midday yet, if I could have a beer. Those guys were hard at work putting a best practice policy in for the construction industry, and that industry opened up on day one and hit the ground running with might have been a 7-8 page document, colour-coded flow charts, easy to understand. They'd already had it pre-approved from the government. It's like, this is how we're going to carry on building buildings, following your rules, keeping everyone safe. And that was just made available to everyone. It's a non-profit organisation, and we were able to just use that benchmark whether we were in construction or not. So we might have been entering an apartment building to do a clean. We had this outline of how to do it safely, safely for us, safely for the people that were already there, in a really easy and understandable way. And I think a lot of people would have been a bit lost without someone like that. So I think we're really fortunate to have that organisation in our country that had that just ready to go day one. It was amazing.
Take my hat off to people that actually use their COVID downtime in a lot of cases to review their systems and procedures. And I was talking to someone else the other day. They basically rewrote their business during that time, and now they're ready to roll. They're ready to roll for when the tourists and things start coming back. And it's smart, man. Like, a lot of people were sort of, we were fine. We were an essential service, so we just kept on going. We just had to modify how we worked with PPE and social distancing and all that. But there's a lot of people out there that didn't have the opportunity to work or to run their business, but the ones that did and still put time into how are we going to do this when we do start getting back into work. That's awesome thinking, and that thinking will carry them through the next 5 to 10 years as well.
Yeah, and we're also, I mentioned before, we use a health and safety app called SiteApp Pro. They were similar. They had a whole lot of clients that were going to be expecting or hoping for something from them, and they were the same. They were putting in the work, and I spoke about a couple of the steps that our guys go through for all their health and safety for all jobs. During those periods, they had another form where our guys were able to kind of log in on their phone. It was just a personal health check. So they would log on, how do you feel, check your temperature, how are you travelling to work, I'm feeling okay, I'm stepping out of the house, bang, okay, send. And so we were receiving those in emails. So before anyone was turning up at any of our job sites, before they left the house, we'd had a little kind of self-declaration saying, yes, I'm feeling well, I've got my mask, I've got my hand sanitizer, I'm out the door. So, just another company that kind of stepped up and made life easier for us.
That's massive, man, when you think about the impact of we talk about health and safety, and a massive part of that health aspect now is mental health, and that's gaining more and more traction, and people are becoming more aware of it and more accepting of the challenges that it faces. So for your staff to be able to do something like that every morning must be great for you as an employer to know, okay, my guys are good. The last thing you want is someone going up on a roof who may not be having a great day, and they're thinking, God knows what they're thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that that's any of your team, but imagine that situation where someone's mentally fragile, or they're not having great mental health, and they're rigging up to go hang on the side of a building.
Absolutely, and that's part of our kind of pre-start form for every day, COVID or not. Is are you ready and okay for work? And that's anything. I mean, someone might just be a bit hungover in the morning, and you need to know that your workmates got your back and that they're okay, and stuff happens, and sometimes friend work's not the right place to be. So no, it's definitely every day it's one of those questions: are you ready?
Yeah. That's good to hear, man. It's good to hear that you guys look after your staff in that way, look after your team, and that buddy system's interesting. You've got there's always some backup there, where someone keeping an eye out.
Yeah. Oh, you have to. I mean, we're not anything without our staff. We'd just be a couple of guys sitting in an office with a whole lot of work to do that we couldn't get to. So,
well, mate, ditto to that. I hear what you're saying about that. It's been awesome to get you in today and have a chat about things and get the insight into what you do, working at height. Certainly we appreciate what you do, and hopefully after this a whole lot more people will appreciate just what you guys go through to be able to do the work that you do. And long may it continue, and keep up the good work, because certainly on the buildings that we work with you guys on, our team's always really complimentary of your staff and then yourself. So man, it's good to work with you, and we should obviously try and push more work your way, and get you hanging off more of our buildings safely.
I would love to, and thanks for the opportunity, and pleasure to be here, and I like what you're doing. It's a great opportunity for all of us, even for me to see what the other contractors are doing, and what they offer and how that they interact with you guys as the building managers. So much appreciated.
Awesome, mate. Thanks.